Okay, so if we talk briefly about the journal, and what you would have to do if you ever had to create a journal by hand, the first thing you need to do is actually create the issue. And so then within the issue, you're able to title the issue. And so when we put in the issue, to put it in this format with the theme of the issue followed by the season and year, and then the volume and number, rather than just the volume or just the season, but we actually do that so it will appear and make it easier for people to find. So you would put that all up here. For the issue itself, we don't normally put in an abstract. And then with the release date, you're going to want the date that you actually would like the issue to be published. And as you go forward and you want to add articles to an issue, the articles you can publish one by one, but they will not be visible until the issue is published. So this is an easy way for you to set a release date in the future so that you can check to make sure all of the articles are in place and are completely formatted correctly before they're released. And then, of course, you can put the title of the issue down here again, like this, with the name, the season, the year, and the volume information. You can continue to put the information here as well, but this is the only thing that appears within the title. For the cover image, you can just select here to either upload a new image, which you would just title and then choose the file from a file you have saved, or you can select from an image you already have. You can also upload the PDF of the full issue here, and this is what you will find when they're on the Journal Archive page and they scroll over here. There are also going to be individual PDFs of the articles, which we attach within the article. You also want to choose the page that it's going to appear on, and it's going to appear on the journal issue detail. When you are done, you'd be able to save the issue without publishing it, and then you would come back here to the content items and you would select the journal articles. And you can create a new journal article, and you just want to come in and give the title of the article. For the abstract, we usually throw in the first sentence or two to get people interested in reading more, and they can click into the article from the list of articles, either on the journal detail page or on the home page, and come further into the issue. The reason you have to create the journal issue first is that in order to save the article, you'll see that this has a required R, the little red R next to it. In order to save the journal article, you actually have to select the correct issue from a list that has already been created. And so once you've selected whichever issue you would like this to be part of, you put it in here. You also want to select the order that you want the journal articles to display in. And it's usually most convenient to do them in tens, so that if something happens and you need to change up the order, you can easily swap one in between numbers without having to reorder the whole thing. So for the first article, we usually do 10, the second one is 20, 30, and so on. Additionally, here, you're allowed to add up to 20 authors for the journal articles, although we never have that many. And you can just select from a list of people who have already already created accounts or who have already done resources for the online university. And so you can just search for their names, and then once you find them, you can click on their name and they'll automatically be added. If you have an author that has not created or that is new, you can easily create a new person by just coming in here and filling out their profile information. The thing to remember is that even though the researcher spotlight and author fields do not have the required red R next to them, they must be filled in, otherwise the profile won't save. And so then once you fill everything in and you save it, the author would then be added to your list of courses. You can always go into an author from this page or from any content page and edit their account. So if you wanted to come in and you saw that either a picture was updated or their institution was updated, you can always come in and you can actually view all of their information first so that you can get away from this general information, which is what you've already filled in. But you want to get to their bio. And this is the part where you make sure that their institution information is correct, that their picture is correct, and that everything is filled in, because this is what will be part of the author's bio page that will be connected to this article. And then again, you would select the article page, and once you had everything filled out, you would just be able to hit save, and this would automatically add itself to this issue in the correct order. So the journal is a little bit special because it basically has a general editing area, but we have a couple of formatting items that have come up as the way that our editor would prefer for them to display. If we go, let me pull this up so we can talk through them. So this is something I put together briefly that explains how to add a journal to the site if you ever have to do it manually. We're going to skip through all of this stuff about the journal issue because we talked about it briefly, and it's fairly easy if you follow the fields that are within the issue template. For the journal articles themselves, there are a couple of items. One article that does not appear in the journal or will not load is this table of contents. And so basically we copy the table of contents that you see at the beginning of the journal article, and then you're going to want to hyperlink each article to the actual page with the content for that article. We basically just copy this page from the actual journal. So when we come back and we look at this blank area for the journal, let's scroll down. So the journal area itself needs to start with the journal issue number, the journal volume, the year, and the season at the very top, and then underneath it we have to add a citation for the article. And I just pulled this briefly. This is sort of a summary for an abbreviated AMA style to come up with this citation. The nice thing about the importer is that the importer does this automatically, so you shouldn't have to develop the citations yourself. But in case you ever do, this is the abbreviated AMA style that we use. We don't typically add citations for the news to use or the CME information and self-assessment. And again, this CME information and self-assessment is actually no longer pertinent as we will not be accrediting the journal, which is actually great news. But the news to use is basically just a list of promotional items from PHA, and there's not an author associated with it. Nobody's going to be citing it, so it does not necessarily need a citation. Additionally, to make the PDF versions of the article more easily accessible, we add a bit of language that says download this issue, and that is hyperlinked to the PDF of this issue, and then download this article, which is going to be linked to a PDF of the article. And you can always find the PDF under the file management. You can search for the PDF. I believe they usually end up under article attachments when they're imported in. So with the journal attachments, because they don't automatically appear anywhere else, in order to grab the URL, you're going to have to go into the file management and highlight the URL within the file management page and bring it into the detail page that you're building. This was just a note for section editors. In order, we just have been putting them at the top of the page in italics. The one thing you will want to check with the importer is that sometimes they get added as actual authors, which they are not. They are just overseeing the content of that section, but they're not technically an author, and so you want to make sure to take them out if they show up as an author instead of as a section editor. So sometimes there is kind of an introductory bit of language, and you'll be able to tell it apart. We haven't had one recently, I don't think. Let's go back to the Summer 2000. Let's see if I can show you an example. So like here you can see that this is sort of an abstract, a bit of abstract language, or a language that is supposed to be introducing the rest of the article. And so when we transfer this into the web page, we started off with italics to separate it from the rest of the content that will be coming later in the article. For the reference list, so occasionally we have things that don't translate over well, and the references is one place where they show up more regularly than others. Sometimes, even though you use the part within the page that is set for numbers, they come up as bullets instead of numbers. And then occasionally, sometimes there will be additional text within the references. So that's just a note to keep an eye out when you're reviewing the content that you have been adding to the site. The other thing that we have been adding are these links to the previous, return to issue, and next. And this basically is to try and encourage people to make their way through the entire issue. One of the things that we noticed once we moved over to this new site is that there was a drop-off in some of the articles that were being viewed, and we think this is partly to do with the fact that this previous and next button is no longer, or was no longer automatically added, because that was a feature on our last site. And so in order to kind of encourage people to make their way through the entire issue, we're trying to make it easier for them to get to the next article.